Hey, my friends, Happy New Year. Wishing you so much joy, so much ease, and a lot of abundance in this coming year. So, today I'm going to talk to you about a way to set up your goals this coming year to create consistent results, easeful growth, joyful receiving in your life and in your business. And what you're going to get here is I'm going to talk a little bit about momentum and how momentum is created. And then I'm going to shift into talking about the two different things that you need to do, the inner work of goals and then the outer work, the strategic work of goals, so that you can create that ease and that flow and set yourself up for success, essentially. And not just short-term success, but consistent, sustainable, deeply fulfilling success. Because in the end, that's what we want. If not, it's not worth it. So let's start with talking a little bit about, I'm going to do a little intro, then I'll introduce myself in case you don't know me, and then we'll go dive deep into the content. So the way momentum and results are built, usually they're built slowly and then all of a sudden. Oftentimes, we are so focused on results. Our identity is so caught up with the self-worth of creating the results that we actually block our own receiving. So my purpose today is to show you how to set up those goals so that they feel really good and really good to you, to your mind, to your heart, to your nervous system, to your body, and to your bank account. And then how to do it in such a way that you don't actually get in your own way, that you allow yourself to easefully receive and grow without resistance and without self-sabotage. Welcome. Let me introduce myself before we go deep in there. If you don't know me, I'm Ilsa. Feel free to say hi to me. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know what kind of goal you have for this coming year. I'm a total spiritual nerd. I'm a bookworm, a dog mama, and professionally for the last 18 years or so, I've worked as a psychotherapist, an expansion expert, and a strategist for entrepreneurs and leaders. I teach my clients how to rewire their nervous system, their lives, their bodies, and their businesses for more of everything they desire in a way where they're not second guessing, stressing, or sabotaging themselves. For me, highly successful and deeply nourishing and fulfilling life or business happens at the marriage, at the convergence between emotional freedom, time freedom, and financial freedom. So all the work I do, both nervous system wise and strategically, is about creating that in your life and in your business. So today's topic is how to set up and achieve goals in this upcoming year, and how to do that in such a way where you're totally getting out of your own way and getting out of the way of your results. This way of doing goals will help you create the kind of impact you want in the world while also receiving the results you seek. Because God knows the world needs a lot of help with transformation and resilience and regulation. But it's not just about creating the impact, it's also about creating the results that you seek, whether that's money, whether that's more clients, whether that's more ease and joy in your business. Here's the thing I want you to know. This is what I've been doing for a couple of years, but I specifically made a commitment to doing it last year. And I literally doubled my business. And I don't mean that I doubled my rates. No, my rates actually stayed pretty consistently the same. I didn't do a big increase. But I brought in twice as many clients. I shifted my business model a little bit. And essentially, my business grew financially in terms of momentum by following this strategy that I'm going to share with you today. So I want you to know that it works. And this is what I'm going to do today and this month, this year, as I am continuing to grow my own business. So I believe in what I'm teaching you today. It is both strategic and energetic. It is both the inner work of wealth and the outer work of wealth. And I live it in my own life and in my own business. And this is why I'm teaching it to you. So I want you to know this isn't just something I read somewhere and I'm sharing with you. This is something I live, embody, and execute in my life and in my business. So before I jump in, I just want to give you a brief call to action. I'm going to go deeper into this at the end of this live, but in case you don't make it all the way to the end, I want to let you know what I've got available. This is an invitation for you to essentially book one of my Wired for Wealth intensive. It's 60% off the normal price. I have 4 spots open starting in January. And essentially you get 90-minute one-on-one with me, a deep dive session where I teach you step by step my process to rewire your nervous system for regulation and expansion. We figure out what's stuck. And then at the end of the session, you also receive a recorded, guided practice of this that you can use anytime you need, as well as a cheat sheet with all the step-by-step process of how to get yourself out of contraction and back into expansion in your life, in your business, whenever you feel stuck. So if you want to do this session with me and really set up 2024 to be powerful, then I'm going to invite you to click the link in the description. There's 4 available at 60% off. All right, let's get started. First, I'm going to give you the internal perspective, the inner work of wealth. And then I'm going to give you the outer strategy that you need to follow to easefully, enjoyably, successfully reach your goals and create the results you desire. And I'm going to ask you to bear with me because I'm going to go into some depth about the process of momentum, like what creates results, and the kind of work you need to do here first to actually be able to not only receive the results you want, but sustain them over time. So achieving goals, getting the results you desire is kind of like picking the fruits of a tree. If I only shared with you how to pick the fruits without telling you how to plant and grow the tree, I would literally be leaving out 98% of what is required for you to have a successful harvest. And so a lot of the time, that's what's happening with goals. People are telling you how to set up goals and start moving towards your goal. They're not telling you how to prepare the soil, how to prepare the space. They're not telling you about the invisible work underneath that needs to happen so that you can create and collect externally. So the way goals work is you have that tangible outer receiving, the fruit part, the execution, the strategy, but you have that entire invisible part that most people do not talk about, the behind the scenes of preparing the ground, of making sure that the soil is fertile and is ready to receive the seed, and then how to take care of the seed before you see anything at all so that there is fruit at the end to harvest. So we start with the invisible work, the inner wealth work. And then after that part, I'm going to give you the outer wealth work, all the strategic process of setting up the goal the right way for real ease, real simplicity, and speed. And don't skip this part, because if you skip this inner work of wealth part, that's part of the sabotage that keeps you stuck and unable to really receive the results you want. This isn't just about creating the results you want. You can do all the right stuff. If you cannot receive and hold them, it's for naught. Okay. So, as described right at the beginning, for most of us, momentum, aka results, are created first very slowly and then all of a sudden, like a tipping point, like popcorn, where it feels like you put a bag of popcorn in the microwave, or if you've got one of those popcorn machines, you put the corn in there, you turn it on, and it's like nothing's happening. And then suddenly it's like pop, pop, and then pop, 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 pop. That's the way popcorn works. That's the way momentum and results are often built in businesses. Our big work internally is to get out of the way, to be able to hold ourselves through all the doubt, all the resistance, all the fear that comes up in that period where nothing much is happening, so that we don't start essentially messing with the process and pushing back the tipping point. Like, imagine if I have this bag of popcorn in the microwave and, it's going, nothing's happening. And I open the microwave, I take the bag out, I open, I look into it. Like, already I fucked up like the entire momentum by doing that, by not having faith in the process. I have messed up the momentum. It's almost like I'm going to have to start over now. So, what are the things that we do internally that push that tipping point away? Or what's pushing that tipping point away? Fear, essentially. Like, at the root of every kind of self-sabotage we do is fear. And fear shows up in a number of different ways. Fear is essentially a contraction in our nervous system, something that says, oh shit, in here, and blocks the flow of receiving. Something that says, I don't know about this. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I have what it takes. And it blocks the receiving. It slows down the momentum. It pushes back that tipping point. So, what are some common ways that fear shows up? Limiting stories that make us feel like victims or like the world is against us and kind of help us feel sorry for ourselves. One of mine, and I'm always working with, I'm still working with, is Facebook hates me. No one's seeing my content. And I have to move through that and remind myself that the vanity metrics don't matter. Like, if you do this little experiment, you go check out the rest of my content over the last few months, you will see that I don't have that many views on my lives and my trainings. I don't have a huge amount of engagement. I have clients, I have friends who have significantly more engagement, significantly more views in my trainings, even when they have less followers. And the bottom line is, it doesn't matter. I still make really good money. I still have a very sustainable business that I love. I still have deeply intimate relationships with my clients. And most of my clients come from social media. Even with this low, like, yes, I get a few referrals. I have old clients who pop back in, but the majority of the clients that come into my business and have come in over the last year, 2 years, have been solely almost from social media. So for as low as my reach is, and as much as something in my mind believes that Facebook hates me, Facebook doesn't hate me all that much, and it's worked. So that's one example. Any kind of limiting stories, any kind of mean thoughts about not being enough, about people not wanting you, like, that's a form of fear. Another one that's pretty common when I work with people with the nervous system is getting afraid of the cost or the sacrifice of success. Like, what if I get successful and suddenly I'm overwhelmed? What if I lose my freedom? Will others judge me or want a piece of me? So anything that feels like more is scary or more is unsafe, or there's going to be a cost to more. Another common sign of fear is being afraid of failure. That's the opposite. The last one was being afraid of success. This one is being afraid of failure. What if it doesn't work? What if I put all this time and energy for nothing? I will be humiliated. What will I do then? Anything that starts to build doubt within you. And then a strategic way that we all mess ourselves up, that fear shows up in what we do, is deciding too soon that what you're doing is not working. That either people don't want your offer, that your marketing strategy is not working. And what that does is it kind of leads us to taking our foot off the gas too soon, maybe pivoting to a different direction, which confuses our audience before the momentum had time to build. It dilutes our focus because now we're trying new things, we're chasing shiny objects. And in the end, it just collapses whatever momentum was in the process of being created. So, momentum creating results is like a tsunami, or like growing mushrooms, or even boiling water. At first, it seems like nothing's happening. It's like the desert, quiet. It feels like it's not working. It feels like our efforts are for nothing. Sometimes it almost feels like it's getting worse. Like, oh, I'm trying this thing and I have even less, like engagement. I have even less people reaching out to me. It's like a tsunami where the water is receding. It's really quiet. The water is receding. And then the wave comes. The tipping point is about holding strong, being consistent, being in trust, and moving from that trust long enough that the drought breaks and the wave comes. The baby mushrooms suddenly explode overnight. I had a client of mine who was growing mushrooms and it was taking forever. And him and I were having a conversation and he said, I think I'm just going to pitch everything tonight and start over. I must have messed up something in the beginning process. And I said to him, I said, why don't you give it a couple extra days? Like you're right at 14 days, which is when he was supposed to start seeing something. Just give it a couple extra days. Who knows? And then the next day he sent me a picture with like the cutest, tiniest mushrooms all over the place. Like overnight, everything had gone from nothing to literally thousands of baby mushrooms everywhere. Boiling water is the same. You look at a boiling pot, it's like, the hell's going on? Did I turn on the wrong, like the wrong stove plate? Like, why is it not boiling? And with nothing happens, nothing happens, nothing happens until the water's overflowing. This is the way momentum and results are created. You have to be able and willing to hold yourself through that pause, through that drought, through the bridge, the transition between nothing and then that tipping point into everything. And during that phase, when you're putting out effort and it seems like nothing's working, nothing's happening, that's when you have to have a really anchored, powerful process to work with all the contractions that are going to come up. Everything within you that's going to say, people don't want me, that's going to feel rejected, that's going to have doubt, that's going to feel abandoned, that's going to be afraid or denied, confused. Like all of that's going to come up. Everything in you that doesn't feel enough is going to come up. And your big work, the inner work of wealth, is to support these wounded parts as they come up, to bring them back into regulation, to bring them back into relaxation, into receptivity, into trust, to remind them that they are worthy, that they are loved, that they are supported no matter what, and to help them essentially remain in resonance, to help your nervous system remain in resonance with the desires that you have, with the results you want to create, even though nothing seems to be happening. So here's the thing. When nothing seems to be happening out there, it's because everything's happening in the invisible realm, where you can't see it, underneath the soil. You are the soil. Life is getting you ready so that you are the version of you who gets to receive and has the capacity to hold the results you want. The inner work of wealth is to regulate your nervous system and to move through all these contractions that are coming up from a place of love, from a place of compassion, while staying in receptivity, while staying in expansion, while staying calibrated to the results you know are possible. So it's like this weird little dance between moving through all the doubt, through all the fear, and holding that with loving kindness, with permission, with praise and soothing support, while also having one foot anchored in being a match for the results you want. You have to trust that the wave is on its way and you're looking out the horizon even while you see nothing. So as you learn to dance that way with life, moving essentially every wounded young parts inside you, every contraction back into expansion, over and over and over, your nervous system starts to open. Your identity starts to open. Your whole self begins to expand. And as you expand, your capacity to receive, to hold the results you want starts to expand as well. And that's the process. You can't receive if you're this small, if you're all tight. Part of the process is to essentially for life, for that bridge, that drought, that desert, to teach you how to love yourself, how to love yourself back into wholeness, into completion, into openness, so that you can be the recipient that can hold the results you want. If you don't do that, like you don't build these roots deep within yourself, the root of the tree, then when the flood comes, the tree's uprooted. You get overwhelmed. You can't hold the results you create. Something bad happens with your results. You can't duplicate them. Like your job is to build really strong roots so that when the flood comes, you are literally unmoved and you have the capacity to hold it all. And to do it in a way that feels easeful and joyful, to hold these results, to receive these results in a way that feels easeful, joyful, normal, natural. So you see, money work is literally body work. It's a shift of paradigm that happens in here first, and then it starts to percolate. Like it happens in our body, then it moves up into our mind and our belief system and what we feel capable of holding and our thoughts, and then it shifts into our actions and how we're executing, how we're showing up, and then it becomes our results. And I've seen this over and over in myself and in clients. When we're stagnating, we're not able to move past a certain income ceiling, or things feel slow or heavy or hard, like they're not working. Always there's some kind of doubt that shows up. And for most people, they don't have a reliable way of lovingly meet the part of themselves that feels not enough, that feels rejected by life, that feels betrayed, that feels like no one wants them. And so they stay in contraction rather than being able to come back into that place of wholeness and expansion. And so they pivot, they change their niche, they get a new certification, they create a new course or a new program, they abandon the strategy that they've been literally in the process of mastering. And every time they start over, they're literally reinforcing that sense that they're not enough, that it's not working. It's like adding cold water to a boiling pot. This is a metaphor from my own coach, Shamika Tinkerson. Every time you pivot, every time you doubt yourself, you're adding cold water to a boiling pot, wondering why the water's not boiling. That, my friend, is sabotage. Not having a reliable way to move through those contractions, and because you don't know what else to do and you don't know how to sit with yourself, you pivot and you reinforce that you're not enough, that something's missing, that something's not right, when really the only thing that's not right is what's happening in here, and the fact that you don't have a way to lovingly hold yourself. So you see all that inner muck that's coming up when we're in the process of moving towards our goal. It comes up to the surface, like whether that's a critical voice in your head, frustration, feeling not of feeling rejected, having doubts, not like confusion, like all of these things are coming up, and they're literally all parts of you asking for expansion. These contractions are coming up not to tear you down or to hold you back. They're actually, on the contrary, they're coming up to be loved back into wholeness. They're coming up to be set free, because they know that if you want the results you want, this is the thing you need to work through. And so they're lovingly coming to the surface to say, hey, I need help. I don't think I can hold the results you want with all this baggage. Can you help me come back into safety, come back into feeling loved, feeling enough, feeling expanded? Contraction is not the absence of expansion. Contraction is the request for expansion. So when you set a goal, it's like you're telling your unconscious, you're telling your nervous system, bring up all the shit that's going to get in the way. Now's the time. The results are on their way to me. We've got some time before they show up. Bring up all the stuff. And so here's the thing. First, we become that free, whole, worthy, wealthy human in here. Then we show up from that expansion. We make decisions from that expansion. We execute our strategy from that expansion. And then finally, we receive and we have. Success is like an iceberg, or that tree that I've been talking about. We only see the tip. We only see what's above the ground with the tree, or above the water, the surface of the water. What we don't see is everything that had to happen underneath, in the invisible realms, to create that tip, to create that tree and those fruits. Which is why I freaking hate it when coaches or entrepreneurs says, 6 figures in 6 weeks. They're not telling you about the years of work they had to do to manifest that result in 6 weeks. It's like overnight success, 10 years in the making. That's the way and I'm not saying this is going to take 10 years. Like, I'm not saying that. It's just a figure of speech. So success results is like that tree or that iceberg. You don't see everything that had to happen underneath the surface to create what's in the outer realm. You don't see the deep roots or the ice that grew and spread so that it could support and hold the growth above the surface and sustain those results. A lot of us just try to achieve the results first, thinking, when I have this, I'll be that. I'll feel this way. I'll be that way. It's the other way around. When I am that, then I have the capacity to show up as that and to receive what I want. To try to create the results before you've become that is like trying to collect fruits without a tree having roots. Never going to work. It's like an iceberg without everything that's underneath. It's not an iceberg anymore. It's an ice cube flowing and being taken by the current and melting away into nothingness. The kind of sustainable, consistent, deeply replicable results that you want, they require that invisible work. So you can't skip the work, the inner work wealth of the invisible realm. You have to become the version of you who's available, able to create and execute and receive the results you want. You have to be the version of you who is so in love with your work, so anchored in certainty and expansion that you can trust and hold the faith and move from that trust and that faith no matter what. And you can keep showing up consistently even when nothing seems to be working. And that, my friend, honestly, that is the hardest part of being an entrepreneur, of being a leader. It's the hardest part of achieving our goals and being successful. So this is my invitation. We're closing the inner work here. This is my invitation. Focus, shift your focus from outward results and start showing up as if results don't matter. And that was actually last year. That was my my main New Year's resolution. This year, I'm going to show up as if results don't matter. I'd been kind of doing that, but not as succinctly and clearly. Not looking at how many people, saw my live. Not, going back to check my thing. Just trusting. I'm putting it out there, and I'm trusting that the results are going to show up when they're ready to show up. The fruit drops when it is ripe. And that's not in our control. We can do everything right, and each fruit is going to ripen at its own speed. So shift your focus away from looking for outward results and just start showing up as if results don't matter, and just continuously check inside yourself. Is your nervous system regulated and expanded? Are you showing up from a place of believing, from a place of trust, from a place of faith? Are your roots deeply anchored? Are you holding all the parts of you that are coming up that feel scared or have doubt? Do the work to make sure that the most secure, whole, and confident version of you is not only making decisions in your business, but is the one who's showing up day in and day out. And also make sure that you're resisting and rejecting nothing within yourself that says, I can't, I'm too small, I don't know how. And that you are bringing all these parts into loving expansion. Here's the thing I want you to know. I was talking about how annoyed I get when people are like 6 figures in 6 weeks. When I shifted my private practice from being mainly local to going online a few years ago, it took me 9 months of showing up consistently to bring in my first client. And I did waste a lot of time in that 9 months. Trying one thing, not seeing the results I wanted, so dropping that, trying something else, doubting myself, changing my mind, chasing shiny object, pivoting. I was paying attention to the fruits rather than to the roots. So when you decide on a goal, the first step to setting yourself up for success is to decide that from the get-go, you are committed to the roots. And you're as committed to the roots as you are to the fruit. That's the inner work of wealth. And when you do that, something in you feels safe to receive. Something in you feels safe being you, being with you. Because you are now deeply anchored You're not going to dishonor yourself. You're not going to abandon yourself. You're not going to take yourself out of your zone of not quite comfort, but capacity, because you're working on your roots. You've got you. So if you can relate to any of this and you feel like there's contractions in your nervous systems, there's woundedness, wounded parts that have been holding you back from creating the consistent, easeful results that you desire and essentially blocking your ability to receive, and you are ready for a more easeful and bountiful year from a place of regulation, from a place of love, then I want to invite you to book one of my Wired for Wealth intensive, because I'm going to teach you in that intensive exactly how to bring yourself out of that state of contraction back into expansion. I'm going to teach you how to do the work step by step of taking care of the roots so that you have a very bountiful harvest. And so to do that, just click on the link in the description of this video, wherever it is. So now we're starting to move into the strategic piece. So far, we've spoken about the importance of becoming the version of you who's able to receive and allow success without stressing, without second guessing, without spinning, hustling, or sabotaging. Essentially becoming the version of you who can show up consistently from that place of trust, from that place of confidence, from that place of calm certainty, even if there's no results to be seen just yet. Now let's talk about what you actually do out there. Like once you've worked on the roots, you've created the soil is fertile, there's no like blockages, there's no little critters that are going to eat the brand new seed or the brand new plant. Like you've created the soil, you've really taken care of the root. The root is deeply anchored, it's spreading, and now things are starting to grow outward. What do you need to do externally to achieve your goals with a lot more speed and a lot more ease? Here's a funny little paradox, and this goes back to that thing about like start showing up as if results don't matter. When you're focused on just showing up in a way that makes you feel proud, that makes you feel good, if you're focused on delivering content that you love, that feels powerful, and you don't actually care about results, about the external proof of success, that's when the clients, the money, the results show up. Your focus on the fruits, your focus on results automatically puts you in a position of need, of lack, and of scarcity. So that's why we want to really shift away from that. And we want to shift into a place of pride, of calm, of certainty, of trust. So the fastest and the easiest way to get to the results you want, one is to work on you, your root system, your nervous system, your belief system, and all that stuff we discussed. And the second, and this is the strategic piece of setting goals, the second is you want to focus on process goals rather than result-oriented goals. And I'm going to describe what that is and what that means. If you want consistent, fast results, then you have to take the focus away from the fruits, away from the results, and you have to focus on the process. What does it take to create the fruits? When you focus on the process, you don't need to focus on the results, because the process, when consistently executed, always leads to the fruits. You have to make, in process-oriented goals, you're essentially making the showing up, the weeding, the watering, the fertilizing, to continue the metaphor. You're actually making you showing up the entire aim. Success is not defined by results. Success is defined by the showing up, by the execution. Because you know that when you show up right and you show up consistently and you're committed to showing up, fruits always follow. So here's what you do tangibly, right? First, you're going to decide what you want. Like, what's your goal? How many clients do you want? What kind of money do you want to make? What new project do you want to start? Like, what is it that you want to achieve in the next 3 months, in the next year, however you define time-wise your goal? Then you're going to decide on a very simple course of action. What are like just a few things you can do consistently to maximize your success? Don't overwhelm yourself here. This isn't about having a list that's like this long of shit you need to do every day or every week. That's the fastest way to get overwhelmed, to bring your nervous system into contraction, and to literally go into freeze mode and not show up, or flight mode and just not show up. So pick 1, 2 things you do without fail, 3 to 5 things a week, maybe. Let it be easy. You can always do more. This is about like, what's my minimum that I'm committed to doing? Like for me, I'm committed to doing at least 1 live 3 times a month. If I can make it every week, great. That's my commitment. But I give myself a week off if I need it for whatever reason. And I'm committed to posting something 5 days a week, at least one thing. Sometimes I'll post 2. Sometimes it's a picture of me and the dog. Sometimes it's a little background post. Sometimes it's a longer post. Doesn't matter. Like, my commitment is consistency. 1 live training that is deeply valuable from my perspective, and at least some kind of content 5 days a week. So that's the plan. Decide on a very simple, very easeful course of action. The minimum amount of action that you will take every single week or every day, regardless of short-term results. And this is essentially, if you did these things, your week would be a win no matter what. If I show up this way, if I do this, I'm going to be proud of myself. I'm going to feel like I showed up for my business. I'm going to feel like I'm ahead no matter what. So these are some simple, like a few simple things that you decide on that you feel would move the needle, and then you commit to them. The next thing you're going to do, you're going to decide that as long as you're doing your own inner work and you're following your plan, the results are inevitable. That's a decision. As long as I'm taking care of the roots and I'm taking care of the tree, I'm watering, I'm fertilizing, I'm weeding when something's coming up. Like, I am following, I'm taking care of me, I'm taking care of the execution. No matter what, then results are inevitable. So you're going to make that decision that as long as I'm showing up inwardly and externally, results are inevitable, and then you're going to forget about them. You're going to know that they're on your way and there's nothing you need to do outside of these 2 other things. Stop looking for proof. Stop looking for validation, external validation. Do not deviate or look out there for a different path, for something else. Simply commit to what you're doing. Commit to your goal. Commit to your own root system, your own inner work, your own nervous system. Commit to your simple plan, and then just know that results are in the way. Every time you take care of your roots, every time you execute your plan, it's literally like you and your goal are being magnetized towards each other. Where you are and where you want to be are literally moving forward towards each other to become one reality. Your job is not to try to pull, your job is to just do you and know that this is happening. You just can't quite see it. The wave is coming. You just can't quite see it yet. The popcorns is going to pop. You just are not hearing it yet. And you do that with as much certainty, as much conviction, as much confidence and consistency as you can muster. And you surrender the rest. The timing and exactly how your results show up is none of your business. When the fruit is ripe, it falls. And fruits show up for everyone in different ways and at different speed because we're all unique. Remember how I said how like all the contractions that show up are actually, it's like you set a goal and it's like everything within you conspires to essentially free you from all the things that's in the way of that goal. How much shit is in the way of each of our goal is different. For one person, they might have done a lot of that work already, and there's not much in the way of that goal. For another, it might take a lot more. Remember how like it took me 9 months to get one client? What I'm not sharing with you there is that where I'm at today in my business would have been impossible for me to contemplate 5-6 years ago. But it still took that 5-6 years of consistently building the roots, showing up, and executing to create where I'm at today. That time, how quickly that happens, is different for all of us. Your only job is to not lose faith, is to not pivot, is to not start to believe it's not working because it's not happening quickly enough. So do not look around at what is happening for others. Do not compare yourself to other people. This is your journey. This is your work. This is your destiny, your reality. It's not about them. They don't matter. Essentially, process goals are focused on you. They're focused on what you're going to do and how you're going to show up. How often do you want to show up on social media? In what way do you want to show up? Are you going to do lives? Are you going to do videos? Are you going to do reels? Are you going to do posts? Are you going to do a mix of those? Are you going to do long post or background post? Or are you going to share a bunch of results? Like decide what you're going to do and how you want to show up. What do you want to be known for? What makes you different from everybody else? And kind of bring that topic up. Like it's about you. How many people are you reaching out to? What kind of leader are you being? When you focus on process goals, you can't fail. Because as long as you're showing up in the way that you have decided you want to show up, it's a win. When you're always focusing on what I call tangible or result-focused goals, like I want to have this many discovery calls. I want to have this much money. I want to bring in this many clients. Like you could have like a big tangible goal out there. Like I want to make 100K or I want to make 500K or I want to bring in 25 clients and be fully booked. You can have a tangible goal. Once you have that tangible goal, it's out there, leave it, and then focus everything on process goal. Because when you're focusing over and over and over on tangible result-oriented goals, it's going to erode your confidence. Because these tangible goals, they're not in your control. Especially in that beginning when you're doing all the root work. You could do everything right and not get results for a little while. So if you're focusing only on that, over time, it's going to erode your sense of self-worth. It's going to erode your confidence, especially if you keep missing your target. It's going to create this vicious cycle where your trust, your conviction, your sense of being wanted, of being enough, is being drained out of you. When you decide, I'm going to show up 4 times a week, I'm going to do 1 reel, 1 live, and 2 posts, you can't fail that shit unless you don't show up. But when you decide today, I'm going to bring in 3 new calls, and then you don't bring in one, you've literally set yourself up for feeling drained. You set yourself up for all these young parts, all these contracted parts who are been asking for wholeness, have been asking to be made whole through your love, through your attention. You've set them up to be punched in the face again, to be abused again, to be rejected again. You can't be rejected if your only goal is to follow the plan. But if your goal is to get something very result oriented, then you're setting yourself up. So focus on you. Your wins are about you showing up, and that's it. So here's the thing. And this is the end. We're wrapping up here. Conclusion. You have 3 things to focus on. 1, work on the roots. Do your own nervous system, belief work, rewire yourself from the inside so you can anchor in trust, in certainty, in confidence. You can feel enough. You can become bigger and become the version of you, the recipient who is enough, is big enough that you can receive and hold what you want. So work on feeling safe, feeling secure within yourself, feeling expanded within yourself. 2, keep executing the plan consistently. Once you have your simple plan, just keep showing up. Blinders, like the horse, you're showing up. You have your plan, you're showing up, you're moving forward. If you fall off, forgive yourself. Welcome to being human. We all fall off. Just come back to meeting the roots that feel bad about falling off, that are beating themselves up, and then get back on that damn horse and work the plan. Continue, get back to watering, fertilizing, weeding every day, every week, no matter what. Here's the thing, a garden is resilient. Just because you fall off and you don't water and weed and fertilize for a week or for a couple weeks doesn't mean that everything's dead. Most of the time, things are not dead. They just come right back when you start over. So wherever you're at, you come back and you start over. And then the third thing you have to do is you have to know with absolute trust and certainty that if you do step 1 and you do step 2, that one day you're going to walk by and you're going to get hit in the head by the most delicious, luscious peach that will have just fallen off your tree. So you focus on those 3 things. You move in trust, knowing that the fruits are in the process of being made, that your reality is, your results are on their way to you. And you know that the fruits are being made and that they will fall off the tree when they're ripe. My fruits will fall off the tree when they're ripe. That's it. I want to leave you with one last thing. The word focus is an acronym for follow one course until successful. F, follow, O, one, C, course, U, until, S, successful. Focus. Follow one course until successful. When I start to work with a client, the first kind of thing we do is we pick an intention / goal. And we create that super simple strategic roadmap for them to follow. That simple strategic roadmap usually looks like this. One golden thread or big idea. This is essentially the underpinning, the philosophical underpinning, the differentiator that comes back over and over and over in your work. One core message, one main offer that they're focusing on and they're growing and perfecting this one offer. One super simple marketing strategy that they can execute consistently. One sales process / call to action. If you haven't noticed, mine is my Wired for Wealth Intensive. I don't ever talk about my program or how I work with clients after that. I focus on selling and bringing clients in through my intensive. It simplifies my marketing. It simplifies my messaging. It helps people hear the same invitation over and over until it feels right in here, it feels familiar, they're ready, they feel excited and curious, and then they move forward. And then when my clients have that simple roadmap, that one course of action, then we do the nervous system expansion and recoding work. Like through, as they're executing, as they're showing up, everything that's percolating to the surface, we do the nervous system expansion work. So that every wound, every piece and part of themselves that feels like they're not enough, that would sabotage their ability to show up and to receive, is essentially healed and made whole in the process. And the only time we change the plan is when, as they're doing their nervous system work and they're really starting to anchor their identity in expansion, they get a clear sense that something in their process, in their roadmap, or in the business model is out of alignment. Then we will tweak. Because as you start to do your own, as you work on the roots, as you do your own nervous system expansion work, as all these contracted parts start to come back into relaxation, receptivity, expansion, you start to download more clarity. And so that clarity allows you to then shift things. But here's the difference that I want you to really hear. When you're pivoting because something's not working, you're pivoting from scarcity, from lack, from frustration. When my clients are pivoting because they're getting a clear sense of something else that needs to happen, they're pivoting from expansion. One of the things I will often say to continue my gardening metaphor, you can't plant a apple tree seed and get oranges. You can't pivot and do something from a place of contraction, of scarcity, of lack, and expand and expect expansion and prosperity. So when we're shifting something with clients because their nervous system is open and they're clear, we're planting and we're shifting from expansion. And that expansion leads to fruits of expansion. So first we become, work on your roots. Then we do water, fertilize, weed. And finally, we receive harvest. Process goals. Work on you, do your own work, believe that your results are on their way. If you sense that you've been blocking your ease, your results, your success, and in 2024, you're ready to create a life and a business that truly nourish and delights all of you, from your heart to your body to your bank account, and you want to do that in partnership with your nervous system, you want to do that from those roots, from feeling deeply anchored in expansion, then let's do some deep work together. For people who are new to me, as I mentioned, I offer this Wired for Wealth intensive at basically 60% off. And I've opened 4 spots starting now in January to really start this new year anchored in regulation and in expansion. Here's what you receive in this intensive. It's essentially $175. Normally it would be $399. You receive a 90-minute plus, sometimes it actually is a little longer than that, one-on-one deep dive session with me, where we're going to discover what are all the nervous system blocks, the wounds that are constricting your receivership, that are getting in your way and blocking your results. And then I'm going to take you through my step-by-step hatching process, showing you exactly how to come out of contraction, back into expansion, how to unlock the power of your nervous system and essentially anchor yourself in that expansion. Then after our session, I'm going to send you a recorded guided practice of that hatching process so that whenever you feel stuck, whenever you're back in contraction, whenever you feel a little lost, you can actually be like guided through the process, through this practice. And it will also come with a worksheet that essentially gives you the step-by-step process of what to do to come out of that contraction and to anchor yourself back into expansion. So it's going to give you everything you need to continue your expansion journey beyond that session, especially if you don't decide to keep working together. If you decide to keep working together, then you're going to still have all of that, but you're going to have me to lead you through the process. So at the end of this intensive, like after our 90 minutes, that's why I tell people, like, keep a couple hours. Then if you want to keep doing some work with me, because all my work, I do most of my work one-on-one, then I'm going to give you a couple different options to fit your needs and fit your budget. I really look forward in this intensive. I look forward to showing you how to rewire yourself and your business for peaceful growth, consistent results, easeful receiving, and joyful wealth. And so to do that, just click the link in the description. Like I said, there's 4 of these sessions open in January, and they're 60% off. Those first 4 are 60% off. And finally, I want to leave you with one last little bit of inspirational wisdom. I want you to remember that you have everything you need to succeed inside you. You're most powerful and you are the most powerful and peaceful force in your life. And your nervous system is literally your compass there. It's the path to heal your past, and it's also the key to unlocking your potential, to unlocking the future that is possible for you. And I would love to be your guide on this journey, helping you expand, helping you create results in a way that is truly enjoyable and truly easeful. So that's why I have for you. Have a wonderful, happy new year. I am so excited to see what we all create in the coming months. Mwah.